Welcome to Secrets of a Bridal Seamstress podcast, where we hear stories from fellow seamstresses just like you. We're able to share their success stories. We learn from wedding industry pros for the best business tips, and we get to hear from fellow sewists and crafters to hopefully inspire our creativity and our love for sewing. I'm so glad that you're here. And if you're a bridal seamstress, I'd also like to invite you to check out our Bridal Seamstress business membership. We have a community of women that can testify to the power of genuine connection, friendship, vulnerability, the power of our six-figure seamstress method, and a genuine connection found in a business mentorship like this. All right, let's dive into the episode. Welcome back to Secrets of a Bridal Seamstress podcast. Today I'm here with Amy Pearson, and she is here to help us demystify Dubsado. We talk about Dubsado so much within our Secrets of a Bridal Seamstress membership, and we have members who enroll in Dubsado and then they're overwhelmed by how to get started, how to automate things. So I'd love to hear your perspective of how we can simplify that, whether it means learning some tricks ourselves or hiring out for even easier help. I'd also like to hear your perspective on the opinion that automations are not personal. I already know where I stand on that because I love automations and I love Dubsado, but sometimes I feel the pushback of people saying, oh, well, I like to just write individual emails. I want to keep everything super personal. And as a result, they're sacrificing so much time. I'm saying things that I know that you probably hear all the time. So
absolutely.
Can you first tell us how you got into the wedding industry and helping wedding vendors or professionals use a CRM? How did you fall in love with Dubsado? Let's start there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got started in my business in 2020 during COVID. Before this, I was in human resources, and I actually worked in systems for human resources. So I was known for hacking the back end of the system to try to figure out how to automate stuff that I didn't want to do. This kind of was a foreshadowing. My position was eliminated because of COVID, and I was sitting at home. I had no idea how to look for a job. I didn't know what to do, and I was completely bored out of my mind. And so I was surfing internet and came across this VA course, and I said, okay, I'll do that. I don't have anything else to do. I'm going to maybe see how this works out. So I'm going through this course about how to set up your business, and they talk about all the tools you need to have to run your business. And they rattle off a tool, and you need something to connect leads, and they rattle off all these tools, and Dubsado does that. And you need to get contracts signed, and Dubsado does that. And every single thing, it was like all these tools, but Dubsado does these things. So I'm like, why am I going to get all these things when I can have this one and it does everything? So that's how I got started using Dubsado in my VA business. But at the beginning, it was just lead capture form, proposal, contract, invoice.
That sounds familiar to us. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was like spending so much time emailing clients and doing all the admin stuff on the back end to manage clients. And I was like, I need to figure out how to not spend so much time doing this, because I am spending all my time doing this instead of managing client work. And so that's how I got into the automation piece of it. And I soon realized that other people didn't really get how to automate things, and I was really good at it. And I started really focusing on the client experience and how to really put the thought into it and make it so that you're answering questions ahead of when someone is going to ask you those things. So if you start getting the same question over and over and over again, start looking at, okay, where can I put this in and how can I add it to my experience so that people get that information when they're asking me it, and then I don't have to answer that email.
Right. Yes. So it's kind of thinking ahead of almost like what your FAQs are even, so you can get ahead of it that way.
Yeah. And so that's what I love to do for my clients, is look for those opportunities.
Okay. And then who does your clientele include?
The way I got into wedding professionals was, one of my very first clients was Katie Monroe. She's a wedding photographer. And I remember she was just absolutely burned out and exhausted from managing clients. She was copying and pasting things. I mean, she had a wonderful set of email templates and a workflow that she was working with, but it was all manual. And I realized that there is a really long time generally. I mean, different vendors, different wedding professionals get booked at different points in the journey, but there's a long time between when someone gets booked typically and when the wedding date is.
Oh, yeah, it's like 9 to 12 months. And so my workflow includes the initial 4 emails that go out through the booking process, and then I send out, how's the wedding plan coming? I send my Amazon storefront link. There's all these check-in emails. So there's so much that goes into the nurturing the relationship before they start the alterations process. But when they book out that early, you got to do something to stay in touch.
Yeah, and a lot of people just like, okay, great, see you whenever we're going to do the things that we're going to do together. And I think there's a huge missed opportunity there for people to do kind of like what you're doing and share experience and information so that they can have an even better experience along the way and build that relationship. So when they finally walk through the door to do alterations with you, they already know you, they like you, they've spent a lot of time reading your emails, or maybe you've got videos that you're sending them, and you're not a stranger to them when they're walking through the door.
So can you kind of develop that? Because if we have a listener who's like, wait, what? I should be something else instead of just, okay, you are confirmed and I'll reach out 12 weeks before your wedding. What other kind of communications could be coming through to just, like you said, create an actual relationship, not just a transaction?
Well, I really loved the thing you said about the storefront, because I've seen hair and makeup people do this as well. And even some of my photographers do it, because you can share accessory ideas or cute pajamas. I've seen cute pajamas for the shoot on the morning of. And
yeah, I have like shoes, undergarments, self-care things like the under the eye patches, like self-care stuff that brides would want for their wedding week, travel bags, hand steamers. And then I have different price points. So you can get a travel bag for $20 or you can get the $90 travel bag. So both of them are on the list. And the same thing with the hand steamers. Like basically you go through the wedding week and the wedding day and what are the things that the brides are going to need, and that's included on the list. And a lot of brides come through and they're like, these are the shoes from your Amazon list. And I'm like, oh, yay, okay. So I have heels and I have cute Chuck Taylors, whatever. And then like girls around here like to wear the Hey Dudes. So I just have links for all those. Whatever I'm seeing my clients wear, I'm like, hey, I could get a little kickback for that. Thank you. I could get my Audible credits. What other things could we be sharing? Because it is kind of like, okay, are they going to actually open the email? Do they want to hear from me? And I do think that our clients want to hear from us more than we think.
Yeah, especially if you have a good subject line in there, or you're telling them what's in there that you're like, oh, I need this. Because, you know, you've got to remember your wedding clients don't typically plan more than one wedding, hopefully, or they haven't really done it before unless they've been somebody's maid of honor or bridesmaid. And so like a wedding planning checklist is always a good idea, or what to pack in your day of wedding bag.
I love a good to-do list too.
Oh, absolutely. I love a checklist. I love anything that gives me the insider information on how I can do something better without knowing the process in advance. You know, like how to make your skin wedding ready is another one I've seen done frequently. And I think brides really appreciate that, because if you're someone like me who's not really into skincare and like 9-step face care routines, I know before my wedding, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to figure out what to do so I look good in my pictures.
Yeah, and you're like, if I feel this way, I have a bunch of clients who are going to feel the same way. So give me the tips.
The undergarments are especially important with the wedding dress, and you have the low neckline or the back, the open back, and what the heck do you do to the dress to have everything look good?
It's magic. It's pixie dust, actually.
I know I was really stressed about the dress fitting. Having the dress fit on the wedding day, even after the fitting, how to avoid having 5 pounds of water weight problems or something like that.
Yeah. So all of these like educational things, because even we encourage like blogging. So if you can even just pull from copy from your blogs. Okay, if you have a year or 9 months to a year that you have to stay in touch with a client, what's a reasonable amount of emails that should be going out to keep in touch? I feel like once a month is a lot, but what if we do like 3?
I think like 3 or 4 at least would be good. I mean, I've had wedding planners that have monthly email sequences that we automate to go out. If they're planning the whole wedding, then they're doing, you know, here's what we're working on for you this month.
Yeah.
Or here's what we need you to do if they're picking it up later in the process. So
Yeah, because what I run into, and I think listeners will be like, oh, yes, like I tell clients that I will reach out to them 14 weeks before the wedding date, and then they'll get the booking link, and usually they get an appointment, whatever, within 2 weeks. And that's how I kind of keep my calendar all organized. And never fail, every month there's a bride who's like, I just want to make sure I'm still on your list. When am I going to get that booking link? Even though they've received an email that says, I'm thinking of you, in 2 weeks you're going to get the booking link, they always just want assurance. So there probably is something to be said for getting ahead of it and sending something out once a month or whatever, or like once every 6 weeks.
And if you're finding that people are asking you for it earlier and earlier, I know a lot of my clients are getting asked for those things earlier. So maybe just think about moving it up earlier. If you find there's a point after they book that they're really kind of starting to ask that, then I would move it earlier and send it earlier.
And then just have like a block on the calendar of like they can't book within 2 weeks or a month of the booking link. Because that's my thing. It's like I only want to see a bride 12 to 14 weeks before the wedding. So when they book too early, it's like, now I'm storing your dress longer than I need to. So it's like that sweet spot, you know?
Well, and I know I've seen things about GLP-1s and how that's impacting the industry too. So I'm sure that you don't really want to have to do more than
Yeah,
one
I
fitting.
think a lot of us are considering changing some of the timelines for those special cases for sure. So if you were to try to convince listeners who are anti-automations because they want it to still feel quote unquote personal, what would you say to them? Tell us how we can make automations and still feel warm and personal and let our clients know that we're thinking about them as an individual.
I absolutely love this. I get where people are coming from and they want to feel like they are engaged with the client and they're writing those custom emails for them. But if you put the thought into it and you write those emails and you make them sound like you and you make them so that they're timed to come out in a way that it doesn't feel like it's a automation. For instance, like when someone fills out the lead capture form, you can choose to have it go right away or you can choose to have a delay on it. And it feels a little more like someone could have responded to it. I think the big point is write the emails as if they're from you and put the thought into it then. And then also understand that in doing that, you're not having to write that email when you're frazzled and you've had a long day and the kids are sick and you've done all this admin work and you've got this one more email to send. And honestly, are you going to put the thought and tell them everything you want them to know at this point?
Right. That's a great
When
point.
you're having that kind of a day versus when you're rested and it's maybe Tuesday and you had your coffee and no one's bothering you and it's a completely different thing. And people can hear that in the way that you're writing. So I think putting the thought into it then gives the client more of a feeling that you care about them than that I wrote this email just for you.
Yes, no, I love that. I like how you said make sure it's like in your own voice. That's kind of the key is the thing that I'll say to bride number one, I'm going to say the same thing to bride number two, and I'm going to try to have the same tone in my voice. So it's not like I'm not being personal. I'm being the same person, me, to every client, and they're getting the same experience and they're getting the same tone from me instead of like this person gets the frazzled version and this person gets the version that's like rested, or this person gets the version who's so overwhelmed and I can't catch up on my emails till 3 weeks after they're sent. That doesn't feel good to be on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, no. It doesn't feel good as the person who's doing that because you know that's not how you want to show up for your clients.
Right,
And
right.
you feel bad and guilty.
Yes.
And that's not fun either.
Yeah. So tell us how, if we're interested in Dubsado or a CRM, how do you outsource someone to do that for you? Or are there tricks to just conquering? I could not conquer Dubsado. Okay. I had to hire out for it. But what would you suggest as the pro? Do you just hunker down, figure out how to use it, or do you hire out?
I really think it's at least worth considering sitting down with someone who knows the system to map out the workflows. So I would strongly recommend that because someone can tell you if what you're thinking of doing is possible. Because I've had those conversations with people like, no, this isn't going to work. And here's why, but here's what we can do instead. Or, hey, have you thought about doing it this way instead so you can automate more of your process? Because the way you're doing it right now is not going to be able to be automated. Or here's how we can make it a little more customizable. Like we can put a to-do in there so you can go in and put a little sentence before the proposal goes out, for instance.
Right.
So that it's more personalized. So sitting down with someone, and personally, when I sit down with someone, we walk through their entire client experience from lead to booking to between booking and the wedding date, and then what happens after the wedding date to follow up and kind of build those clients for life so that you're not just like, I see you, thanks.
Yeah. So you can have that follow up when you need like an additional workflow created or package or whatever. It's like they're just like a phone call away.
Right. If they need other things tailored, or if you do something like that, then you can bring them back in and you let them know, like, hey, I don't just do wedding gowns. I also do other things.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
here's how you can work with me later if you really liked what we did together for your wedding.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you're considering this, because I think some listeners, they already have a CRM that's working great. And then some are still doing that like copy and paste email, which I did for a while because it was free. I was really trying to stay scrappy when I first started, and I didn't want to put too much money into the business, and I was afraid to do that. And so I used spreadsheets and copy and pasted and got that done until, honestly, I feel like Dubsado was the first CRM that I felt like kind of checked all the boxes too. So it was worth it to invest in that. But I have automated emails that go out after clients leave. So it's like there's a Google review request, there's a promotion for cleaning and preservation. So like now that your wedding's over, come and get your gown cleaned. And if you're listening and you're thinking, well, what if I actually do not want to be in contact with this client at all? Like they go away, I never want to see them again. You can stop every automation. So there have definitely been clients where I'm like, okay, bye. They don't need to hear from me again. I don't want to hear from them again. You know what I mean? Like we all have those where we're like, phew, okay, they're out the door, great. And so you're not stuck. You still are in control in your automations. But I know we talked about the emails that go out beforehand. And so like I mentioned, like the Amazon storefront, and even what to expect when they come in for fittings, what time they should arrive. Listeners know that I really don't like when people are early. And so that is also in an email. Please do not come early. I don't have a separate waiting area, so we want to respect the privacy of clients, whatever. They get reminders for their invoices. It really does take so much time off of my plate having things automated. And so if you're listening and you're considering it, I just want to encourage you to consider to take the leap. I will say there's a sweet spot of what time of year to implement this. And I'd like Amy for you to tell us a little bit about that, because you don't really want to start this in the middle of your busy season. So tell us why.
If you're going to offhand it to someone like me to build the whole thing for you, which is amazing because then you don't have to worry about it, then yes, you could start having it being built during your busy season. And I think actually having that going in the back end, so to speak, while you're still continuing to manage clients the way you are, would mean then when you are done with busy season and you have more bandwidth, that's when we go over everything and you can start working on learning the system and understanding it. I mean, I know I and other specialists who work in Dubsado give at least 30 days of follow-up and support.
Yeah.
So then you have somebody holding your hand and walking you through that and showing you how to use it. So you're not figuring it all out on your own. And then you have the time after that to start adding new clients in, or adding ones that are, you know, if someone booked way out, you could start putting them into the process after you've tested everything and you are confident that it works the way you want and the experience is exactly on point for you. Then you could start adding people in as you're starting to go through booking people and engagement season and all of that. So
yeah, well, my busy season is like March through end of October. So I think my first meeting to like discuss the setup, I think was like September, October, so that by November, that's when I had time to actually like tootle around in there and figure out what the heck I'm doing. And then all of the new clients who are trying to book for the following year, I felt confident in just getting them through all my workflows. So there is kind of like a sweet spot. I don't know if I would have started it at the beginning of the year, and then I feel like I would have just been trying to like catch up, and it would have been more overwhelming than it should have been.
yeah, it could be really stressful if you're trying to cram that in too quickly and then like hurry up and get it online and start using it with clients. And
Right.
I don't know how to do this. Oh shoot, I just accidentally triggered this thing and I didn't mean for it and I feel embarrassed.
Yes. Yes. During my slow season, I've sent something where I was like, oopsie, sorry, that was not for you. Like, okay, this is learning, There's just a couple learning curves, and that's fine, but it's totally worth it. So other than Dubsado, how do you help growing businesses clean up with systems? Because I love this kind of stuff. And I know that there's more than just automated emails.
Oh, yeah, I love tools. I am a tool collector and definitely a systems nerd. So I love a good project management tool, and I love building those so that they match what's in Dubsado. So if you have more steps to your process on the back end that are not client facing, but then when you finish a certain set of tasks for a project, then it says go back to Dubsado and mark this task complete, so we send the next email to the client. I love building processes in businesses to handle other parts of your business. And that's actually something I focused on in my own business in the last year, is just building those repeatable processes like, okay, every month I do KPI day. And that also is another tool that I use, is NG for marketing. And it helps me plan, do, and track my marketing. So it has an AI copywriter in there that helps me write content or repurpose from my blogs, which I know you said you encourage blogging. So what I love about it is it will write a blog post for me, so I can put in an outline, and I've got my brand voice in there, and I've told it all kinds of things. It's probably like, okay, enough already.
Yeah.
With the instructions, and it'll just go and write the whole thing for me. And then I can say, okay, now repurpose this into my social media or Pinterest. And so I love that. It saves me a ton of time, and it schedules content for me as
even
well.
better. Yes.
Yeah, and it's connected to Instagram or YouTube, my Google Analytics and everything, and it pulls all that in. So once a month, on the first of the month, I can look at, oh, okay, here's all the analytics on one page, and I said what I wanted to see there. That saves me a ton of time, because I can go in there and look and go, okay, what do I want to work on this month based on what I'm seeing here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, instead of just kind of just shooting in the dark, yes, which a lot of us are.
I was definitely shooting in the dark. I tried to figure out how to track all this stuff myself, and it was a nightmare. I spent a ton of time trying to build dashboards and ClickUp for it, and I was like, as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, yes, I don't have to figure this out.
Is it ENJI or ENGI?
ENJI.
JI, okay. Another guest was recently talking about that too. So I'm like, that might need to be the next podcast topic, is how to use NG.
Oh, well, you should get Taylor on here. She's amazing as a podcast guest, and she's one of the co-founders of NG.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
NG also has CMO, Chief Marketing Officer days, and the training on marketing, which, as someone who's not really a marketer, a trained marketer, that's super helpful. So
yeah.
I've really been having a lot of fun playing around with AI as far as like Claude or ChatGPT, and figuring out how to use that to save time as well.
Yeah, I think we're all still kind of experimenting with that piece of like, how is this going to work for me? I think some of us might still feel afraid of it. Some of us are like, oh, I can get the hang of this. And that's going to look different for different business owners of how much they want to use it. But if it's available, I was just talking to a girlfriend about how there's a point in our businesses where we decide to stay where we are with the spreadsheets and the copy and paste and spending all these additional hours communicating with clients or doing all the work ourselves or whatever, or hire assistants, get automations with a great CRM, figure out how to use AI to help us. Like, there's a decision made to either live in the continued burnout or to let go a little bit. And I feel like the more that you let go, it just takes the first step. Because I just even remember the first time I hired online help. I wasn't even ready to have help with sewing. And I felt like, okay, I can release this. It's getting a little bit easier. And then I hired my first sewing assistant, and now I have 2 more. I just feel like the first is always the scariest. The first step of like, relinquishing that control. But it is a decision, because the alternative is to continue in living in your business the way that you've been living in it the past, I don't know how many years. And do you want that to be the rest of your life? So even when people join our membership, there's kind of that conversation of, okay, do you want to come in and keep up with your current habits and you know what the results are going to be, I guess you'll have more friends now because you have a membership that you're part of? Or are you ready to make changes based on how far you want to grow? And these things that you just suggested are kind of the first steps, and they're like easy ways to relinquish control at first. If you're not ready to like hire assistants, this is a great way.
Yeah, because systems are generally consistent. You're not relying on a human, you're relying on tech. And so you give the tech the instructions, it's going to follow the instructions as long as you give it good instructions.
Right. That's the key.
But when you're outsourcing things to people, you have to train them and you have to spend time with them and make sure they understand the process that you're asking them to do. That can be really challenging for people. I'm in the National Guard, the Michigan Army National Guard. So I'm in a band, the 126th Army Band. And I just got moved into a position where I'm helping our readiness person outsource to the band to handle some of the admin tasks. With military stuff, it's tricky because there's a lot of systems you have to have access to and we don't have access to. Getting that person to give up the control, and I see it with my clients too, that I don't want to give up control, or I don't want to take the time to train someone on, if I have to tell someone how to do it, it's just easier to do it myself. But if you take the time to set up the instructions in a system, or you take the time to train the person or build an SOP or video training, whatever you're doing, if you take the time to do those things, then you can spend less time doing it.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see when clients have systems in place and they start seeing them in operation, how that makes such a difference for them.
Yes. And I think it's so funny that you're seeing it in two different areas of your life, with your own personal business and then with the National Guard, how it's like the people are the same. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter where in life, they just respond and react the same. One of my friends, she gave me this great tip to record yourself doing the sewing task, and that is how you teach your future employees, because then you don't have to just reinvent the wheel or like spend the same amount of time training. It's like you just have one video, or like training videos, essentially a library that you're creating for future employees, and you know they're all getting the same standard, and you can hold them to the same standard, I should say, because you know they all receive the same kind of education. So I love that idea.
Scribe is great because you can record the video and write down your instructions, so it'll create written instructions for that.
Wow. Okay. So Scribe,
and it'll take like pictures to go with. You actually record it in Scribe.
Oh, okay, that's very cool. And I love how it has like the photos with each step. That is very cool. Okay, so for your final words of wisdom, because you've given us a lot to think about, for somebody who is stuck in their ways and they do not want to outsource, or they just want to keep doing it the way that they're doing it, and you know that they're burnt out, what do you want to say to them?
If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to get the same result. And I would just ask you to think about maybe automating one thing in your business and giving up control on one thing. I would probably start with lead capture, because at least then they're all ending up in one place and you can have an automatic follow-up, which takes so much weight off of your shoulders. That. But consider taking one action to take the work off your plate and see how you do with that. Because if you don't make a change, you're going to have the same burnout and exhaustion and frustration that you're having currently, or it might get worse if you have more clients.
Right. Right. It's just going to bleed over to the next wedding season, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, we all forget. It's kind of like the seasons of the year. We have winter here in Michigan.
Yeah.
Every summer, I completely forget that winter exists until winter shows up again. And I'm like, why in the heck do I live in Michigan? And there's snow.
Yeah, seamstresses are in the middle of just feeling so burnt out in September. And it's like, never again, never again. It's like, okay, then what are you going to do differently next year? Or what are you going to do in March so that you don't feel this way in September? You can't make those decisions last week of August to change the way you're going to feel in September. Give yourself that gift of like planning ahead. So thank you so much for this. I hope that some listeners take notes and get the inspiration to automate some things. And then where can listeners find you? And if they want to contact you for maybe Dubsado help or Scribe or NG, how can they reach you? And then, how can they reach you for your services too?
Absolutely. So my website is amysgould.com, AMYSG as in golf, OULD as in dog. And then I'm on Instagram at Systems for Creatives, and that is with underscores in between the words. So they can reach me both of those places. And I have a 5-minute lead flow checklist that you can download.
Yeah, so that'll be in our show notes too. Okay, well, thank you so much, Amy. I'm really excited for this information to get out to listeners and to encourage listeners to give up just one thing. What is one task that can be automated? That's your homework after listening to this episode. And then let us know what that one thing is that you decided to give up. Thanks, Amy.